We are live now, YouTube as well as TikTok. TikTok, my disclaimer, I can't see your comments. I will check them at the end here, but I can't see them right now. So you can hold the comments or you can put the comment and I'll get to it when I can. So we're going to go through our normal morning huddles today. What we're going to do first here is just look at the SPY and just kind of how our day went yesterday, kind of what we talked about. So yesterday was Monday. So this was the pre-market kind of push. We had a pre-market drop. By the time the market opened, we were down in this range. So you can see I got a bunch of lines over here. First off, we'll talk about the Harmonic Tracker Pro in a minute, but let's take that off for a second. Let's take a look at what we talked about. So if y'all remember when I was setting up the ATA as well as talking about the huddle, I had said we have some crazy known support here, and it was likely to hold because of how strong it was. We also had this kind of falling wedge that we've been, playing with a little bit today, or I'm sorry, last few weeks. Friday we did have the breakout. This was kind of the retest. My line here, I have it locked here. As you remember with this line, we were kind of playing with where was the significant peaks, right? So if you pull this down a little bit like that, you can kind of line that up, and it still lines up with a lot of very significant areas along the way. But more importantly, now it acted as retest here, pumped, it failed to hold, found support, also the retest of the trend line causing us to explode north. And so yesterday, if y'all remember, I was talking about how you guys know normally I'm very bearish or short-term put. But yesterday, I was talking about how I was more on the call side, and that was because of that, bullish pattern potential, and just the known support that we were holding. So that played out really well. We took a call. I actually held this call quite longer. So this was the call that we had made here. I actually entered it somewhere around here. It was right after market open, and I held this thing through here. I think it was right here that I got wicked out. So I did not capture the most part of that. And then I had this short pop up. So I did take this short, and I was attempting on this short to hold this one overnight. And truth be told, on this, I had set a stop loss because I couldn't watch it. And I was so freaking bummed because I did not think that we were going to actually break this level in the after hours. I anticipated we'd have some kind of pullback still in the overnight. And so right as the market closed, I got an alert, and I'm like, man, what is that? And this little pump up like 2 minutes before the market closed ended up getting me on a stop loss. I was going to let it carry over the night, but it happens, right? Unfortunately, I was right. We did fall down, and it would have been a great trade even in the market open. But that's what we do to protect our risk. Is it's okay to hit that every now and then. So now we'll reassess it. You can see the Harmonic Tracker Pro did really well. It called the nice short scalp, the long scalp. Even this short, guys, remember this is a 447 down to 446.46 on a scalp like that. 50-cent move. I mean that's a few $100 on just a 10 contract type trade. And then it obviously called this long right before the market closed, and then obviously this is after hours. So let's flip over to regular hours and just kind of see how that worked. Sometimes I'll flip back and forth just to see how it's calling it without the extended, right? And so you can see here, so we have our short, we got our long, and then we have our short call within there. So I'm going to add the extended back in, and let's just take a look at where we're at and kind of what we're going to do today. As you see, we did have a fall in the pre-market like crazy. I had put in the room that, the level to watch would be around 442.40 up to about 447. Again, for the retest, I think it was 447.33. This is where I got that number because this is, that trend that we were following before, plus some heavy resistance levels. So to come up here and retest this would not shock me. We did get a long call here. It looks like right at 9 a.m. So we were in this long right from the beginning. We did have a little bullish divergence here on this stretch here, not so much on this one, but we did continue up on the RSI. So my anticipation is, that we're going to probably continue to drive upwards north for a little bit. I would look for a rejection somewhere in that 447.30, possibly a 448.18 or so retest up here. You can take some smaller trend lines, maybe take like this little kind of aftermarket oscillation here and just kind of pull that down like that, and you can see that kind of lines up as well. That's one that I would do. Let's look at I'm just checking a few other things. Yeah, so you can see even on our 2-minute, we are showing a little bullish gap fill, so that's starting to play out perfectly. We are a little bit in the high area as far as close to being oversold, but I'm sorry, overbought. But there's still room to go, right? So we could see we are in this red line here. For me to take a short on this or a put, I would want to see this green line flip back to red, and then I'll ride that sucker back down into the oversold area. I would also like a short call on the Harmonic Tracker Pro. That would kind of change that. There you go. See, we're starting to get some harmonics that are bearish. So again, we'll talk more about this in the room that I open after this. We do have the 21 SMA coming up on the 200 EMA. So we may hold it as long as we stay above these two here. Then we're gonna definitely see that continued push north. For me to be bearish, I'd want to see it break below the 21 SMA around 445.85, and then you'd be clear to ride some put scalps on the way back down. So, and that's on the scalping, like I said, the 2 minutes. So let's look at the 1 hour and just kind of see how that's all shaping up. I'm going to take a few of these lines out because I'm starting to get a little too much on my lines here. I don't like. So these were some higher levels that we marked in the past. So I'm just going to delete all these. We'll redo them. I like that white line there. This one right here, we can probably take off because we did break above it, right? So it kind of invalidated that. So let's just use our upper and our lower. That's this white one and this teal one. This is where I got kind of the lower levels here. This white line here is where I was extending out, and so when I called that 442 range, it was basically a bounce off of us continuing this channel like that. Now keep in mind this is a falling channel, right? So if we find support on this teal line and we start to squeeze the channel like this into Thursday, then likely the pop is going to be north, back up to as high as 451, maybe higher. But on the 1 hour at the end of the day, we're below this 200. We continue to stay below it. The 200 EMA is 448.94. Looks like that's where we rejected yesterday in the after hours, right? So that was our hard rejection, was off this 200. So I would look for this trend line here to hold for a bit, and then we'll just kind of range in here, and then I would look for this 200 EMA. As long as we stay below it, you can continue to scalp puts off of it. If we stay above this, continue to scalp your calls. If we flip this 200 EMA, we haven't flipped it since 453. So if we flip that plus this trend line of 449 or so, then it's just going to continue its trend back up to as high as 454 or so. As far as the 1 hour goes, we are red, but it is aiming upwards. We had our bullish divergence here, but that kind of it played out up to here. But we do have an extension on it, because you have 1, 2, 3 points going up, and you have 1, 2, 3 points going down, right? So I don't know if that's actually fully played out yet. And remember, the 1 hour chart could take days or even a week to play out. So we may see some more upside. So I would just be careful, on your puts. Just be patient with them. Don't enter your puts at the bottom here. Enter your puts up here. If you miss this breakthrough, that's okay, right? Let it find its support, bounce, and then ride it back down like that. So would be the play that we want to do on this buy. So and we'll talk more about it when we get into the huddle as well. Let's talk a little bit about the tech stocks, just because I got some time. Apple's just continuing to hold this level of support, 177 that we talked about, and it's just ranging, right? This is what we call, when you have that fall like that, it's an accumulation stage right now. I still think it's going to have one more little pop, out of this range, probably at least up to test this 200 EMA around 183 before we make that determination if we're going to go into fall. But look at the RSI. I mean, how bullish this is starting to lead, yet we're still sideways, right? That tells you we're setting up for something, right? Some sort of pop. So now we may pop all the way up to, like I said, 183, hit this 200 EMA, and then reject right back down all the way down to 170. It's very possible. So play your range on that on the Apple. Let's see how my lines have been doing on Google. So little off on here, and then we did get a little push north there. So let's just kind of adjust this line up a little bit like that. So that's still proving to be a pretty good range. Let's go to the 1 hour, because we are in the 4 hour on that one. I'm just looking here real quick. Okay, so what I would do with Google is I would take this bottom here and I would just draw this. That's how I would box that in, like that. And so to me, this is setting up for a potential bullish push on Google. I don't know that I like this top line all too much. Let's line that up. Let's pull this down to here. Kind of hit some of these wicks. See if now I'm hitting both of these and this one, and I have these and I have these here. So I kind of like this right here a little bit better. So let's lock that one in. Yeah, I think that is a better one. So my anticipation with Google is we'll likely pop north on this one, come back up. We might see a high as 135, 136 before we see that harder rejection, kind of like we did here. Now, if I were to see this pattern invalidate, what I would want to see is a rejection here soon around 131.50, a pullback all the way to 128, and then I want to see it stay on this lower half like this, and then that means it's almost certain that we're gonna crash back down. So, but this is the upper trend line. If we can break 131.48 with a little push, retest it as support, you could probably take a nice little call position on the way up. Let's save that one. I haven't looked at Microsoft in a bit. Quick glance. Yeah, we're just holding. We're holding. See this area right here. You can see if I were to draw a line right there, this is our heavy known support. You can come over here and see it's holding as that support. You also have this area as heavy resistance, so it's kind of that dual. I'm gonna take this line out. That one's a little older for now. And then I kind of like this line still. This is kind of like my in-between line, right? It has what was once support and also resistance as well. So it's going to have some weight, right? So now you have the 200 EMA coming down. I would expect, based on what I see here, the things I'm looking for here is, you almost have kind of like a inverted head and shoulder kind of going on here. If this pops, it's almost certain to push to that 328 before it hits that 1 hour 200 EMA. We also had those, a few bullish divergences coming through, and we are green. So I would see some more upside going on in Microsoft. Doesn't mean that if you're in a put, you're in trouble, because you could always, if you got some time, right, we might get that hard rejection off 328. Now, if it flips this 200 EMA, then that's going to it's going to take off. So I would say it's gonna be tough though, man, because you got this 200 EMA right here on the 1 hour at 328, which was also known heavy support, right? You have three touches on this support, so you can almost draw a line right there. And so it's got to break not only this apex kind of line here, you got to break this resistance here, and you got the 200 EMA. So definitely going to be at least, I'd imagine, one rejection off that, unless some news is coming through to push that through. Amazon playing out like we talked about, right? So we had that falling wedge, our pump kind of had that fall. One of the key things that we talked about this thing showing that we were going to pump through is we had our higher low on the RSI, whereas we had our equal low, giving us some mild bullish divergence. I know it didn't call it because of how separated it is, but it is there, and that typically is what calls for that breakout. Y'all know I said be careful taking puts on Amazon because it did have that bullish pattern. Now it is breaking out here, but look at this candle rejection right here. So just a massive candle rejection right there. If we close below in the next 15 minutes here, it's likely to see some more pullback on Amazon, probably at least 138 or so before it retests this line again. And then I would need this thing to hold like this, and then it would have its next run. But we did flip red on the 1 hour temporarily. So and this rejection right here from 141 is not looking very pretty. So if you're looking to take, if you miss the call right here, I would wait for a pullback to at least 137. We might even follow back into the channel, right? I mean, you might want to get the bounce off the 200 EMA around 136.8, right? And then ride that back up. All right. Tesla was funny yesterday, man. It like market opened and then just absolutely dumped and then pumped right back. Quick glance at Tesla. We're still rocking this little channel here that we drew a while back. This line's still pretty good. You can almost pull it all the way up to here, right? So it shows you it's pretty significant lower line, and that's proving to be the case because if you look here, right, we are still holding pretty strong, right? It's just below it, so we could probably pull this down just a little because there's a wick there. So my suspicion is that is probably a better placement of that line. I'm gonna lock this one because I tend to forget to lock it and didn't want an alert, and then I end up dragging my screen all around and moving it. So again, Tesla, I don't, although we're in the bottom of this range, and yes, we do have a potential for that push north. As long as we stay below 238.58 and we continue to act as resistance, it's going to continue to follow this channel like this. I would not take any calls until we flip 238.58, and then once that starts to hold the support, then you can take that call. Otherwise, it had a big run, right? So you're in trouble. It's dangerous. Nvidia, that was the stock of the day yesterday. Look at this, just monstrous tear, and I haven't actually even been covering Nvidia, so we did miss out on that one. But let's take a look at why we bounced. So from the technicals, you can see how old my lines are. From the technicals, if you take away the noise there and just look, right? So we had heavy support here, right around 375 or so. We pumped up, we found support at around 400, 401, pumped up, found support again, found support, and then had a absolute monstrous tear. So it doesn't surprise me that the first time we come down and retest that area, right, which is literally around the same as right here, that we have an absolute explosion off of it. So now if you notice, we are finding some resistance here. This resistance right here is, if you miss the call, I would not chase this one. Don't do it, because you're probably going to get wrecked. Because if you take your trend line, you have one that you can pull from here, which kind of takes us up to 460. I mean, a little bit of room left, I guess. But if you take this one here, it's a very different story, right? This is why you want to watch these two. So this is why we're getting our first rejection from 452 back down to 441. The other thing I want you to look at is we were extremely overbought. We're not as much in that territory now, so it could there's a chance that now that we've flipped this 200 EMA on the 1 hour, that it could hold continuous support and then have one more pop back up to like that 483 or 461. But I would need to see some heavy support after a run like that. So, and then if this flips red, or let's see what the harmonics, I think I have it muted. Yeah, so the harmonics caught the long, it caught the short here on the 1 hour, so played that out perfectly, but we have not flipped into a short yet. But that's likely why we rejected right there, so because of this little trend line here. So, but I don't know if it's strong enough to hold. We might just get a little double top here, have a little pullback like this, somewhere around. I would probably say somewhere in here, like 436 or so. If we pull back into there and we get this squeeze and we hold a support, then you might be good to catch another entry on that call. So Bollinger's are green too. I only got about 10 minutes left, so I don't want to go too much into these other ones. Meta, we were also following this kind of falling wedge. It looks like it's starting to collapse, so let's adjust these lines here and just see where it goes from there. So the upper line seems to be holding really well, but that lower line collapsed. So let's just kind of fix that channel like that if you're following along. We may, like I said, we could continue to push this thing all the way down, right? I mean, we don't have like heavy support until 289 or so, something like that, 290. So could have one more little kind of push down into this range before it comes up. But I think it's setting up. Meta's setting up for a pretty healthy pop, I think, in the next week or so. But you're gonna have to be patient with that one. That one looks like it's taking time to play out. And I'm not going to jump into Netflix yet. So let's look at the dollar. The dollar's doing what we talked about. We did have our pump to 103.49. If y'all remember, we called that way back here on when it was 99 off this double bottom, that we would get that pump. My original call was this white line here, which we did hit. We actually broke it. I said if we break this, we're likely to go for this yellow line. And we haven't quite hit this yellow line yet, so there's still some push north of that can have. Depending on news, we could range up here like this and be kind of setting up a potential head and shoulder and have another drop, which would justify our push north that we're looking at possibly having for that SPY. BTC. So BTC is just boring as ever. I mean, there's some nice scalps in here. Don't get me wrong. It's just there's nothing going crazy. I mean, look at this. Crazy push down, right? Crazy push up. So we're getting some movement. I mean, these are amazing scalps for sure. But it's just building up, right? I think. Again, on the 1 hour, this is kind of the channels we were following for Bitcoin. I still think that we have one more pushback coming down here on 28.2, 28.3 before we come up in here and squeeze and then pop north. So that's kind of my call. There's obviously the chance if we were to flip this trend line and pump above 29.8, 29.9 and hold this as support, then it's gonna pop early on that. So that's what I would watch. I don't want to go over time too much today, so let's talk about our SPY. So yesterday, so I made a lot of adjustments, and so I know if those of you who are running the ATA, you may look at this and be like, man, that doesn't line up with what I had. So I want you guys to think about this. When I did, I'm thinking of how to phrase this. When I did Big Get, right, crypto, it was very, very different. And so sometimes it confuses people on the copy trade for this versus Big Get, because crypto, you have to remember, we could go into a futures contract and leave it open for a month. And so I could be very aggressive with it, knowing that I could get out of most anything, right, with the right strategy. Options are not that simple. They're not that forgiving. When it comes to options, you're on the right side or you're not, and you have to be on that right side pretty often because of the fact that you don't have that time. You don't have the luxury of letting that trade just sit there. So the thing about it with options, the upside with that is, I know although it hurts to take losses, you don't sit there and watch just an absolute massive loss, linger for 30 days, right? You take your licking and you get back to start earning. So there's going to be decisions. The point of me copy trading is to make some decisions, right? I mean, we let the technology run, we let the technology work, but there's times where it maybe midday may make sense to pause a call, and maybe times it may be good to pause a put. And so yesterday we had adjusted our strategy along the way, right? So we did not take this call here. I saw the pump up. We actually entered a put here. Looking back at prior resistance, I said, I don't really like taking any calls here, so I actually paused the call. So I made that decision. So we did not take this call. Therefore, we did not take this stop loss, which is awesome. We did take the win on the put. It reversed. I did not re-enable the call in time, although I would have, but I did miss that, so we did not take this call. I did leave the put on, and so we did take this put. And that was our day, because we did not trade after 3 o'clock, and it did not see anything else until after that. So that was kind of our day. And again, keep in mind, I do my best to tell you my strategy. I do, and what I'm going to do through the ATA. But it may change, right? Because the market is not as simple as me being able to do TA at 8:30 or 9:30 and have that hold for the whole day, because news changes, trends shift. What was support becomes resistance. What was resistance becomes support. Things happen, right? And so that's going to make that determination on which strategies I may switch to throughout the day, and which, if I want to be aggressive, if I want to be cautious, that all plays a big part. And so that's why things may change, right? But my goal as doing the copy trade part for my account, as well as those that are following it, is to be green, right? And that's the main thing, is we want to have more wins than we have losses. Will we take losses? Absolutely. If we didn't take losses, then we're all looking at islands, I guess, right? But that's part of trading. Everybody, even the greatest traders out there, they're going to take their losses. So don't freak out when you get a loss here and there. The main goal is to be net green, but we did not take this loss, fortunately. So glad about that. So let's talk about where we're going to go from here. So y'all know that. Let me mute this so we can just spend a little time looking at the range here. So this was kind of the channel that we were watching. If you guys remember the other day, I said, although this looked very bearish pennant, I didn't like it nor trust it because of the amount of support that it just held through this pennant, right? It wasn't as clean like this, right? Like that. It was literally, it tried to get to this line so many times, couldn't do it. And so when it tried again, in here, right, Monday morning, this is why I was saying I don't like puts. I wanted to take only calls. I know that sounds strange because we ended up taking 2 puts, but the puts were based off of once we pumped up to this range and higher, is when we actually got into taking those puts. So that's why I made those decisions. We did pump up here. We could not break this upper range here. We tried 1, 2, 3 times. Even in the after hours, we hit that 200 EMA on the 1 hour, and we had that hard rejection. So question is, where do we go from here? So we did have these lines. We don't necessarily need those, but that's kind of how I played that pattern. I wanted to explain that. So now we're going to go look and see where is our next range. Okay, so we know why we drew this white line, 443.89. That was due to prior heavy resistance, and it also is due to known support in that area there. So you can see that the market opened. We faked push north a little bit, actually, on this candle here. So we got to 446.62, and we are rejecting. I still stand the same, when it comes to my direction. As long as we stay above this 443.97, I believe that we need to take more of the calls. As long as once we flip this, if let's say we break this area with a little bit of steam and we come down to kind of a lower trend line. So like we can take something like, sorry about that. We can take something like this. So if we see a breakdown like this and we hit this area around that 442 I was talking about, and we pump back up and we reject and we reject and we reject, then we're going to want to start thinking, okay, we might have further to go down, because you all know I've been talking about 431. So this is a very pivotal line because it was heavy resistance at one point right here. And is it going to act as heavy support? If it is, we're going to have an explosion, right? Back up to 450. However, if it can't hold and we do break past it, and then it begins acting as resistance again, then we're gonna begin to see what I had talked about a while ago. I was like, man, up here I actually said it was kind of funny because we teach in our room to not be afraid to identify patterns early. And I said, man, this is looking on a higher time frame, very shoulder, head and shoulder potential, right? And so this, if that plays out, right, that would give us our push down here. Then we'd find resistance, and then we'd have our first fall down to that 431 range. Then we would probably pump back up to about 443, and then we would begin our crazy descent after that. So, but that's all based off of, can we break this 443.87 range? Because if we can't, then they're gonna, people are gonna see this as heavy support where it was once resistance, and it's gonna have a nice little explosion north through that. So again, anything above this 443.87, I'm looking for more calls. Anything below it, I'd want to see some, not like a wick and then pump, right? I want to see a close below it, another close below it, and then a pump up with a doji rejecting. That would be my confirmation of, we got a lot more downside to go. So, and again, if you go back to this chart on the 1 hour, we are red right here, but we do have some room actually to still go, but we're getting really into that spot where we could have that potential pop north. It's just we could have a little more downside before that pop north happens. So let's talk about what are we going to do today. So we're going to set up the call first. I think I still have the alerts. Yeah, let me take these out. So let's set up the call first. Let's just take a look at yesterday and see how they would have performed. So we know the SARS would have taken that stop loss. Let's check, let's check Trend Finder first. Let's see how that would have performed yesterday. Trend Finder would have did well. Remember, that was my original decision, was to ride this Trend Finder. Now it looks like this one right here got actually this one right here might have took a slight loss on this one right here. So it looks like at the end of the day, Trend Finder would have got caught, but it had 2 wins right before that. So let's take a look at moving average. And remember, this was a tough day, right? Moving average killed it. Look at that. Man, it just caught the trend. This would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 closes, and then we would have had a loss right there. So, and it'd be in a call right now. So moving average was on fire yesterday. Let's check. And this is how I like to analyze. Is there anything that didn't get caught or didn't take a loss, or like look at RSI. We haven't used RSI much, right? But RSI took 3 really good trades. Yeah, would have got out of all 3. Wouldn't have got caught at all. Let's check support and resistance. Wouldn't have got caught. Only took 2 trades. Support and resistance, just like parabolic SARS as our more passive ones. I may talk to Alex, see if we can put a little note there or something that says like aggressive, more aggressive, something like that. So just to kind of help. But we do have the breakdown of the strategies on the website. So range filter would have been killing it too. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It did get out yesterday, and it already has 1 in the bank, and it would be in a call right now. And maybe we'll let range filter rip today. I think overall that one's done the best so far. ATR actually, no, ATR would have this would have been a loss right here. It closed it at end of market is why. Let's check. Golden Cross. It took one. That's another passive one. It took one trade, and then we know what SARS already took. I like Range Filter. Let's try that one. That one actually had a great day yesterday. We'll let it trade up to 3 days. Still do a 3-day contract. That's fine. We're still gonna do the stop loss. I'm gonna put this at the 15th, and we're gonna close the candle now, so that way we can just start trading. Did I do that wrong? Let's see. 8:15 at 10:05. Oh, it's because it hasn't. Yeah, there we go. I had to wait for the candle to close. That's why. I was 1 minute early. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do on our calls. We'll run Range Filter today. Let's set the alert. I had a feeling I did that. Give me one moment, guys. I got to add back in the webhook. I was doing some stuff with my own alerts yesterday, and it ended up taking out the webhook on me. So this webhook y'all don't you don't have, because this is the copy trade webhook. So let me get that in there, and I will set this alert. Just be patient with me for one moment. So I set the alert, but I didn't rename it. So I got to change the name here once this populates. But yeah, that's I think what we're gonna do with the calls. I think it's gonna be a good one. We're gonna just let this one rip today. Take some chances. So actually, it's still put it up on the top, so that's fine. That works. Okay, there it is. We are back. All right, so we're live on the calls. If you're following along, pause to read. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on TikTok, can't help you. But we have call, SPY, Range Filter, Taste Trade, 3-day contracts. This is the time frame we're going to trade at. We'll let the one run over if it ends up getting stuck a little bit. And there it is. So let's take a look at the puts. Actually, looks like we're about to do a call here soon. I'm debating on the puts. Okay, so the puts, I'm gonna run it, guys, but we're gonna run it more passive on parabolic SARS, because again, we're at that support until we break that support. If we break the support with some momentum, I may make that decision to change that to being more aggressive on that one and less aggressive on the calls. But in the meantime, we are gonna go this route. So let's change that. 10:07. So we're gonna put SPY, SARS, 3 days. We'll stop at 3 o'clock. We'll let a trade go if we need to. And we got our candle close. You guys see, how easy it is to set these up. It's not hard. Not hard at all. There it is. And so we did just enter into that call, so with Range Filter. So came out pretty aggressive. So we'll see if we get a nice little bounce off of this support area. But I'm about 8 minutes over, guys. It took a little longer. I wanted to explain some stuff on the ATA. Again, I apologize for being late. I normally do this 8:30 to 9. My daughter had a dentist appointment that I completely forgot about until she reminded me this morning. So, but I appreciate you guys' time. I'm going to go ahead and end this on the streaming side. We'll see you guys in the room soon.